This particular video, I want to look at the other information on the expense category screen that I haven't discussed. When you create new expense categories, you can also assign a target category against it. Now, like everything in Easy As, if it's useful for you, use it. If it's not useful, don't use it. Don't create yourself unnecessary work. It's pointless. Target categories have two purposes. The first feature is for our clients in Canada. I know that each year when they remit different tax returns, they have to also remit the individual item against a specific number that has never changed on their tax returns. So it means that instead of when you obtain a list or a totals from Easy As, it provides you this total here. I think it also provides you with the number that we've assigned. But that means nothing. To most of us, it means nothing anyway. And particularly those in Canada, that's not the right number. It just adds you extra work when you're trying to find the information on your tax returns. So here you have the opportunity to add the number. So for example, protective clothing, if I know that that has its own number, I can add it here. So at the end of the year, I can print out a target categories report. And then it provides me with a total according to that number. And that has more meaning to me if I'm in Canada, because then all I've got to do is go down my list or look for that number. I automatically have the amount that was totaled against it. That's the main reason this feature was included. Target categories can also be used to assign groups of expense items into one total at the end of the year. So let's say, for example, that because this gentleman here is a maintenance services guy, he might, for whatever reason, want to keep, let's say he buys certain tiles, and for whatever reason he wants to keep his floor tiles, we might say floor, for ease of finding them, I'm creating my category in this fashion. There might be my floor tiles. I'm going to create another category, and I'm going to go tiles. I'm going to call that wall. Now, for whatever reason, as I'm entering in my expenses throughout the year, I want to keep floor and wall together in one group. So I'm just going to go back here and just select some of these just so that I've got some entries against them. So I can show you this. Okay, now I've got something in it against that category. I'm going to show you. If I jump onto the list here, I've got to give them a number. So for this purpose, let's say I'm assigned number 20 against the target category number. Now I've got two items with the same target category. You might think, well, why would I do that? Here's why I'd do that. At the end of the year, you can obtain different reports, or at any time during the year, you can obtain a report on the reports menu. If I jump to the reports menu, you'll see we have target categories icon. If I click this, it will now bring up only those items from expenses which had a target category assigned to them. So because these two particular expense items had target categories numbers assigned of 20, we've got that protective clothing one from before. It has no information. It's put it on the screen. But what it also allows me to do is to go even further. We can grab a list of totals of target categories. If I click that now, you'll notice, see that? You now notice that it's provided these two items added together. So it's now provided me a total of the target categories under number 20. Can you see what's going on there? I don't think I need to explain that. I think it was easier just to show it to you. So we can have 4 or 5 particular different items now against a particular category, target category. Jump into here, and it gives you a total of the target categories. This is another refinement tool. That's another feature that Easy As have got, that which we know is very useful to those who use it. Now, if I jump back into the screen, I want to show you something else. So at the top of the screen here, if you have a look, you can see you can also print out additional reports here. They might be useful to you, they might not. You can obtain a list of your target categories here. and you can keep it next to your computer, and you'll know what expense categories are assigned to a target category. You can also obtain a list of your expense categories if you want, and keep all that next to your computer. So you saw before, the other report only printed out the items on your expenses that were assigned to a target category, but you can print out the whole report and it supplies you with all the information if you want. Whether that's useful to you and helps you throughout your day is up to you. Now, so on this screen here, you can't obtain totals of anything. They're obtained from your reports menu. But I wanted to point out one more interesting thing up here. You have an icon called vehicle categories. Vehicle categories in Easy As is treated completely different to any other expense item. It's calculated in the same way, but Easy As allows you to keep that information separate. In a lot of countries, vehicle expenses is looked upon as its own little area. And a lot of countries have their own specific rules when it comes to vehicle expenses. So we allow you to enter your vehicle expenses, and you can have, these are the first initial groups. Again, you can delete these if you don't want them and add your own. And what it allows is you can keep your vehicle expenses under one particular grouping, so at the end of the year, when you print a specific report, you can print a report for vehicle breakup. And what that allows you then is you can obtain any category you've created against the vehicle report, you can obtain a separate report with the totals. So when you go to your accountant, he can look at that, and because a lot of governments have specific ways to treat vehicle expenses, you've got a complete total of those separate. It makes it easier when you come time to do tax. Believe me, it saves a lot of time. Another little thing I want to point out with these vehicle expenses is, as you create a new category, you'll notice that in this instance you have to give it a number. With the standard category list, if I jump back over here and I click to create a new expense category here, you see that it auto assigns this number. In the vehicle categories, it does not do that. If you want to add a new vehicle category, you have to assign the number yourself. And it tells you down the bottom here, I think, that you are limited to only 14 categories under vehicle categories. And they start from numbers 1 to 14. The startup numbers are 11, 12, 13, 14. So if you want to add a new category here, and if you select number 11, and we want to add a new vehicle, just say I'm just going to call it maintenance. I click finish. It's going to tell me I can't do that. I've already got an entry assigned, or a category assigned to number 11. So it does stop you creating a category with that number. So when you see that coming up, you go, oh, hang on a minute. Like, it won't allow you to create a category with 0 either. You've got to have a number. You go, oh, I haven't used number 10, so I'm going to create a category for number 10, and now it adds it. Okay, so just be aware that that pops up. And you can also assign your target categories to it. So naturally, your vehicle expenses, you might have its own little category, and I'm just say I'm going to call vehicle expenses target category number 1. So as I mentioned earlier, when you go back to the end of the year, you can obtain your target categories reports, and it's provided all of this here against number 1. But when I do my totals, it gives me a totals of all of my expense categories. So that's a great little tool for that. Right. I'm not sure there's anything else I need to explain about this now.